Good evening and welcome. First in the house, Kieran Evans, Graham Allison, Leanne Vine, Adam Hudson's in the house. He's not out chasing Mr. Fox. Christopher, good evening. Michael McLaughlin, good evening. Tim Weston, good evening. Well, we've got 5. It says 8 here and 5 up there, so I don't really know. I just don't know. Okay, so I'm here to address some issues. You saw the opening statement, did you? Did you see the opening statement? My title for tonight. Did you see that? Good evening, Tim Weston. Hope you're not eating. What day was Carlos? Good evening to you. Just waiting for a few people to come in before we kick off. Good evening, Frank Casey. Same old faces. Aren't you watching the can I say this? Can I say disabled Olympics? Is it a better word than I used the other night?
Yeah, I think so.
Can I use that word, disabled Olympics? Or is it people with para? No, they're paras. They fucking jump out of planes, don't they? Para Olympics. Ah, right. You can't say disabled. Did you see that that girl who got left at the train station? She had to crawl out of her wheelchair. Tammy, innit? Tammy, she's done really well. Imagine being at the train station having a freaking. It must be like some out of platoon. Unbelievable. Steady, Chris. Don't go there. Don't go with your thoughts. Anyway, I've had some news in the last half hour that would shock most of you. I think you'd be quite surprised that I'm still on here. But hey, life goes on, as we say. And I didn't want to let anybody down. So I've come on and I've got to be this cheerful chappy underneath things play on your mind. Now, one of the things that I wanted to cover tonight, rather than overthinking, Chris, is has anybody heard of Olympic friction? Now, I didn't say limp dick, I said Olympic friction. Olympic friction. Has anybody heard of it? I didn't say limp dick friction. We don't need Viagra. Has anybody heard of it? I heard a podcast, they were talking about it, and I was thinking to myself, do dogs suffer from that? Do dogs suffer from it? Nope, says Steve Pace. There you go, Steve, eh? I thought you were a man of the world. Anyway, Olympic friction refers to the physiological and psychological effect needed to overcome the state of anxiousness or lack of motivation. So it's close to limp dick, isn't it? If you think about it, lack of motivation. So the reason I brought it up is we have adrenaline, and adrenaline kicks in when you're running a dogging competition. I've been showing some of the championship videos and editing them and explaining things and breaking them down for educational purposes, and it seems to be quite popular with the group. But that you've got somebody actually explaining to people what's going on. Now, some people come in line and they're nervous as hell, and the dogs can pick that nervousness up from that person, and the dogs can do it on shoots as well. I've seen people, do all right in their training and then go on a shoot, but then what happens when you go on a shoot? The prey drive kicks in. The prey drive of the dog kicks in. Now, do you think that dogs have that capacity to overcome states of anxiousness? Do you think some dogs in certain situations just can't cope with pressure? Is that not the same scenario of what I'm really saying about how we educate the children? Nigel Farage says, I watched it on a video today, that is absolutely disgusted that a bloke who threw cement off a building site at him on the bus hasn't been locked up. Two-tier policing, Other people have been locked up for getting involved in the riots or saying things on the internet, and yet this bloke doesn't get locked up. At the end of the day, what people do in the spur of the moment, they might not actually think at the time, oh shit, what did I just do? It's in the spur of the moment. And that's exactly the same scenario with the dogs, isn't it? I've just shared a video tonight that I've just put up about a top trial guy, one of the film stars, being put out 3 dogs in a row at the championships. Now, to get to the championship with 1 dog is a feat in itself. That means you've won an open stake, you've qualified for the championship. But to do it with like 5 or 6 dogs, and then the first few dogs you run, you get put out for simple little things that you'd never think the dog would make those mistakes, and yet they do. It just shows, isn't it, that all dogs can make mistakes. It also shows, good evening, Martin Lance, it also shows that we're all vulnerable. It doesn't matter how good you are at things, you can all fail. Good evening, Tracy. Harry's in the house. Abigail French is in the house. It's getting on. What's that? Says Michael McLaughlin. Yeah, what's that? See? You've missed out, Tracy. You've missed out what we were talking about. Just watch the video. Agree with all what you said, Chris. I don't trial that, though. Yeah, exactly. And the whole point of it is you can think, you can go into a trial nervous as hell, or you can go into a competition, you can go shooting. I've seen people clay shooting and get nervous and missing clays, where normally on a normal situation they're quite a good shot, and yet other people don't seem to suffer from nerves. Adrenaline is good for you in the right way. Now the reason that I brought this up is I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and I didn't listen to all of it because they're going on about protection dogs, and that's not my cup of tea, and different sports that aren't my cup of tea, but I found some of it quite interesting. And one of the things I put after they were talking about getting a dog into drive and controlling a dog in drive, that your dog has got to be able to cope with that pressure. And if you don't put your dog in that pressure, as soon as you put the dog in the pressure and you've not corrected that dog and the dog goes wrong, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You've got to have put that dog in under pressure in that situation, and the dog has to cope with pressure the same as the children, the same as individuals. But like I say, we're all different. Some people get very, very sweaty. I've seen people standing at the back biting their nails, smoking like troopers at trials. I never ever, lucky enough, I never felt that. I never felt it. I don't say I didn't get an adrenaline buzz, and I would go reasonably quiet because my brain was concentrating on my run, not just talking just average rubbish to people around you. I have a tendency that when I get my serious head on, I go reasonably quiet. And my dogs know when I go quiet, because in my training, I'm reasonably loud because I'm using cues. I'm talking to the dog and communicating with the dog. I'm using the whistle. When I go quiet, the dog knows we're in serious mode. And that's the whole point. And that's the whole point. So we talk about prey drive and controlling prey drive. Now, if you don't allow your dog to chase, and it never gets the fun of the chase, the day it does chase, because you've never had it chase, then it says, I don't need to listen to you. Where if you allow it to chase and say there's nothing wrong with chasing, but you teach it to stop under that drive, you can apply more pressure when the dog is in prey drive than you could if the dog was not in drive. But like I keep saying, every dog is different. Every dog is different. Now, one of the things they were talking about on this podcast, and I thought it was quite good, was loading the dog with food, luring the dog with food. And they were completely right in what they said when they said it has its place, but they're not. One of them said he's not a great fan of it because you've got side effects. And I agree 100% with what he said. Every aspect of training has got its good points and its negative points. The real skill is in having an open mind and looking at the bigger picture. If you've got a closed mind, you like I put that feed up. I put that feed up on purpose because I wanted people to realize that it's such a simple thing, isn't it? Children must be taught how to think and not what to think. And that's exactly what the government are trying to teach us, aren't they? Right? They're trying to only feed us the news they want to feed us because they don't think we're intelligent enough to understand the bigger picture. When in fact, because of the media and the internet, we've got far more information now to the big wide world than we ever had before. We were tied to the TV license. We paid our TV license. We got the news through the TV or through the radio or through the newspapers. And over time, people have realized that you're only being fed what they want to feed you. And that is exactly the same as dog training. If you punish a dog out of drive, you can affect the dog more than punishing the dog in drive. But if you don't allow the dog to gain drive, then how do you know how to get the best out of the dog, how to get the best out of the partnership that you're in? Because you want your dog to toughen up if it's a softie. You've got to harden it up a bit. And I think they went to a stage where years and years ago, dogs of 40 years ago were a lot harder, headstrong in nature. And then they went softer. And they went softer because they thought that would be trainability, that would make it easier to train. When a true fact that those dogs are harder to train, the softer, the more soft temperament of the dog, no different than the humans. You get mood swings. Oh, you shouted at me. You put too much pressure on me. Now, the dog can't tell you that, but the dog can show you that. You can see it through the dog. But really, fuck all, the more years, the more dogs under your belt, the more you realize how little you actually know. But it gives you realization. Hey, Karen, talk about that yourself, mate. Talk about that yourself. You might be in that. You might be in that moment in time. Help him, Sue. Help him. No, I know exactly what you're saying, but it might be a moment in time. I'm still trying to put brakes on my dog, Leanne. Yeah, but the whole point of it is you haven't destroyed the drive, Leanne, and that's the important thing. So you've advanced, haven't you? Because so many people read first comment. Good evening, Sue. Yeah, I've seen that.
No, I think what most beginners.
Hang on, Karen. I didn't realise you're writing an essay. I think most breeders struggle with knowing. Oh, beginners, not beginners. Hang on. So, can you read it?
I think what most beginners struggle with is knowing how much drive they can handle and knowing when to put the brakes on. And it only comes with experience. At the beginning, you think you know, but really you know. Or the more years and more dogs under the belt, the more you realise how little you actually know, but it gives you realisation.
All right, that makes a little bit more sense, Karen. I'll give you 50% more credit. Now I read the first bit, but when I read the second bit, I thought, well, hang on, I've been there myself. I thought I started winning with dogs. I thought I knew what I was talking about, and I started telling everybody where they're all going wrong. And then I realised, hang on, you only know half the story. So I got my head down, and I worked with more and more people, more and more dogs, And now I've got a better understanding than I've ever had, because I've been willing to have an open mind. You have to be the idiot before you can. Hey, Karen, stop it. Stop it. Now you're going too far. I've always been an idiot. What do you mean you have to be an idiot before you become the master? I don't think you ever master dog training if you have an open mind. I think your mind can change. The methods can change. It's whether you're gullible and you jump straight in and go, yeah, that's right, I'm following that person, when in fact, is that person right in themselves? And the whole point of it is everybody should have a difference of opinion and not fear being belittled because they have a difference of opinion. Everybody should be able to give their opinion and take constructive criticism. But like I said, I read the second bit first and I thought, well, I disagree there. Then I read the first, when we went back to do the first bit, I thought I'll give you 50% more credit than I thought with the second bit, because it made more sense reading the first bit. If you put it all together in one, it wouldn't have confused my dyslexic brain, because I'm an idiot. Now, I'm not allowed to call myself an idiot because people say that's being derogative towards dyslexic people. Trust me, it makes you feel an idiot when you can't spell. I mean, Karen is on a roll tonight. Look at him; he's on a freaking roll. He's been on the freaking juice, I think. So I like the fact that people give feedback. When people give feedback, it gives me an understanding of what you are thinking. If people don't give feedback, then how do we know whether they've got knowledge or haven't got knowledge or think they've got knowledge? It takes more courage or a fool just to give feedback, because what you could be saying is absolute load of rubbish, garbage. And we see it all the time, don't we? Where people are saying, if you punish that dog's never going to trust you. How many have heard that? How many people have heard that here over the years on the internet over the years? They are peddling that ideology that everything can be done with love and affection, but don't allow the dog to taste. Don't allow the dog to build that drive. Suppress it from the start. Suppress it from the start. Now, I find it very difficult to hold things back and cover up. And because of my dyslexic mind and the way my mind runs, if I'm thinking something here, I can't concentrate there. So I have to have complete clarity, if you know what I mean. And it's just the way that my brain works. And that's a cheese feeder's favourite saying. What's that? Clarity? Help me, Steve. Help me now. Help me.
Educate us, please.
Could you educate us? Is it Gorgonzola? Come on, Steve.
We've lived a sheltered life.
That's a cheese feeder's favourite saying. Steve, I'm not saying nothing else until you help me out here. Steve, you've got Sue laughing and she don't know what you're freaking talking about. Do you know what, Steve? You know when you're in a happy relationship, when your missus laughs at you and she doesn't even know what you're talking about.
No.
She thinks it's hilarious, Steve. I'm just not saying nothing else to you. Explain to me, Steve. That's a cheese feeder's favourite saying. I'm still waiting, Steve. Does anybody else know what he's talking about, or is it just me and Sue?
Are we the idiots or what?
Are we the idiots in the village? Can we say that? Idiots in the village. Can we say that?
I know we live in Cornwall.
Come on. What's the SP? What's the SP? Hey, nothing. He's freaking legged it now. Well, that's going to be a boring freaking evening. Oh, he's coming back. What you just said about driving. What?
What you just said about driving, punishing the dog.
All right, I'll get you now. It's a cheese feeder's favourite saying. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you, Steve. I'm in there now. I'm in there. Anyway, I'm going to say it because I just don't think I'm on form tonight. and I'm not looking for sympathy, but half an hour ago, I got a phone call from my daughter saying my brother had passed away. And he passed away how many months ago, Sue? December. He passed away in December. I had everything organised what I was going to talk about tonight, and it was to do with Olympic friction. And that phone conversation has thrown me completely, because it was completely out of the blue. I didn't know. And he had pancreatic cancer, Sue, is that right? Pancreatic cancer. But he didn't want anybody to know. He didn't want anyone to know. So his partner hadn't told anybody. Kate found out today, and she contacted and left a message. She phoned me and spoke to me literally less than half an hour ago. So, cheers, Karen. So, is it I'm cold-hearted? No, it's not. Is it like you've got to get up and face shit that happens? What can you do about it? Is it 1 in 2 of us? 1 in 3 of us get cancer. 1 in 2. But it was the shock of the sudden being told that he died months ago that was probably more of a shock than. Nobody knows what they're going to be like, do they? No one knows what they're going to be like. Now, I've got to say that I've been in a situation, and I'm not. Thanks so much for your comments, but I'm not looking for condolences really. But I appreciate what you're saying. But it's going to run the live feed, and it's playing on the back of my brain a little bit, and it's not easy sometimes. He was 2 years older than me. But we weren't close. We're not a close family. But I just think what it does to me, it brings sorrow in some ways, that you just wish that you had such a closer family. And anybody who's got close relationships with their brothers, sisters, mother, father, cherish them, because life's just too short, isn't it? Life is too short. It's like shit happens, doesn't it? But at the end of the day, life goes on. And I thought to myself, if I'd had the news like a couple of hours ago, I might have said sorry, but I can't do live feed tonight, because it was 15 minutes literally before we went live, and I thought, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I wasn't going to mention it, to be honest with you. I wasn't going to mention it. So, but then I just felt that Sue knew I would. But it's in my head, and it's because I'm dyslexic, and I can't just switch it off. And blood is blood. You're dead right, Michael. You're dead right. And I just think I'm so lucky that my kids are close. We're in touch with each other. Now, life happens, doesn't it? People split up, and relationships split up, and kids go in different directions, and hatred is caused, and all that sort of stuff. I've never ever not had my gate there open for my family if they ever wanted to come and talk, or let me know what they feel like, or pop round to see me. I've never turned anybody away. But at the end of the day, out of the blue like that, I just think sometimes it's worse, isn't it? Peter Piper says, my father used to say blood is thicker than water. And I think you're right. I think you're right. I remember when my younger brother committed suicide. When I got the news, I cried like a baby. And I just couldn't help it. I couldn't stop. I think we were closer, and yet it's sad, isn't it, when you've got an older brother who's passed away. He doesn't want anybody in the family to know, and then doesn't tell anyone. And then Kate tells me his son knew, and he told Kate, because they're in touch with each other. And Kate's always been in touch with every member of the family, whether whether we are in touch with them or not. She's always she likes to keep everybody together and everybody friendly with everybody. and I'm going to move on. But what I'm saying is, you'll have to bear with me because I was trying to come on and completely focus on dog training or talking shit like I normally do, and I find it not so easy to talk shit when you've had news like that. So I don't mean to say it looking for condolences in the way that you've been really, really good. Don't get me wrong. I really appreciate it. But and Sue does. But it's funny, isn't it, that we communicate, and I think communication is good. I think communication is good, and anybody in our group, they got problems, they can pick up the phone and talk to me in private, can't they?
Yes, as Karen's just said, it's good to talk sometimes. Get it off your chest. You can call a number of us in here at any time.
Yeah, and I think that's nice, isn't it? That you've got people who follow you who do generally care, and I think that's really, really nice. So I didn't want to just not come on tonight and just say due to emergency. I tried to come on and just crack on with asking questions, but to be honest, I'm finding it a bit hard, to be honest. So, could someone say something? So we were talking about Olympic friction. How do you cope with pressure? And that's pressure, isn't it? That's pressure. And people cope with it differently, don't they? And it's easier not talking about it, isn't it? But sometimes you just got to let it go, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I shouldn't have talked about it, should I? Should have kept it to myself to a certain extent. Never mind. So anyway, I've been cracking on doing work today all day. Like I said, I didn't know about it till very, very late. I've just been cracking on doing stuff. I just done tea, just got that, and then I got that news. So it's like it's not as if like you had time to just like take it all on board. You know what I mean? I just didn't have time to take it on board. It was just such a shock at that point. She is, Michael, one of kind of hot girl. Kate is, yeah. So let's get back to dog training, shall we? Shall we get back to dog training? What we're talking about? Anybody got any questions? Please throw some questions at me, or somebody tell me a freaking joke. Just tell me a freaking joke. So the other thing on this podcast that I was listening to, it was J Jack. I don't know if anyone's heard J Jack and Bill, and they were talking about the catch pole. Get a dog to race up the wall, off a rubber mat onto the catch pole, and play tug with a catch pole. Right, it's for protection dogs, for bite sports and stuff like that. And J Jack said, somebody said, why are you teaching a dog to run up and jump over a wall? And he's not teaching a dog to run up and jump over a wall. He's teaching the dog bite sports. Now, if you've never seen bite sports, you might think, well, why did you want your dog racing up the wall? You're going to teach it to jump over a wall. Why do you want a dog hanging off a tug toy aggressively? Because it's being trained for specific use. And that's the problem with gun dogs, isn't it? When we talk about gun dog training, those dogs are going to be put under great pressure, aren't they? And what we've got to do is we've got to let them be able to cope with pressure. If you need to cut things short, I'm sure everyone will understand. All right, thanks for that. See you later. Question: do you prefer a bitch or a fog? Oh, freaking hell! Can he? He's trying to figure. I don't like frogs.
Been drinking, Karen?
Oh, not a frog, a fog. Someone's been drinking. Yeah, Chris. How's the gazebo doing? Still upright? Yeah, yeah. I blame Steve. I blame Steve Pace for that. I blame Steve Pace for that, for saying that the gazebo is going to cripple itself within the first fucking first blow. And for the next day, I was thinking, is the gazebo still going to be there on the next blow? And it did blow, and it was blowing around. Not the gazebo, the the cover underneath. So I took it off. I took the cover off because I don't want to bend the gazebo. Um, so I'm in limbo at the moment. What to do with that? Whether to put an industrial roof on the top of it and just turn it into a bar, nightclub, or it took me 2.5 minutes to take the gazebo down. It took me about 15 minutes to not the gazebo, the actual cover on top of the gazebo. The gazebo on its own is strong, and I went into, is it Chris Dawson's place? What's that called, Sue?
Range.
The Range. Does everybody know who the Range is? Chris Dawson. And I went in the Range, and they got about 15 of them in there, and every one I touched just wobbled like it would fucking blow over. If I think anything you buy from the Range is like going to fucking last about 3 weeks, and yet some of them are quite expensive. Some of them, or perhaps they're not bolted down and they just feel. But some of them are so thin you can see they take off in a freaking force 3, let alone freaking force 8. So I think Steve frightened the shit out of me when he said you're gonna bend all the freaking frame. So I've taken the frame off, and I went and bought one of them concrete things that you put your umbrella in, your big umbrella that you put up, and that fits in there. And so I might just live with that. I'm not gonna go mad. How not to how you ever had a dog? Have you? Do you mean?
Have you ever had a dog you couldn't?
No, he said how, but he means have you? Have I ever had a dog I couldn't train? I've had 1 or 2 dogs that I've sent back because I couldn't get them over hard mouth early on in the training. As soon as you realise you've got hard mouth, you tell the owner and say, look, do you want to spend all that money and have a dog with a mouth, or do you want to take the chance, have the dog trained, but you've got to understand that you've got a dog here with hard mouth. And those dogs I have not been able to get over hard mouth. I've never met anybody who can get over hard mouth completely. A dog that's a little bit tight in the mouth, it's a completely different thing. But hard mouth is no. I don't know anybody who can cure hard mouth. There's certain people out there who reckon they can cure it by wrapping a dummy in barbed wire or fucking 2 brushes back to back and all this stuff. I've heard every wives' tale known to man, but I've never come across anybody with, if a dog's definitely got hard mouth, I've not found anybody who can stop hard mouth. I've had idiots yet again on the internet going, well, how can you just condemn that dog? I'm not condemned it. I'm just saying, don't bother carry on training it, spending all that money on it. Might as well give it away as a pet, as a gun dog. Back to that same scenario. People on the internet giving their opinion when they don't have a clue, and that's the difference, isn't it? Leanne Vine, your garden is amazing. You should see the bush. Stop it, Leanne. Stop it. I did say I want a few jokes. She had me cutting a bush, Leanne. Honestly, she had me in the garden cutting a bush.
I did.
She did. What was it called?
Laurel.
Laurel. I cut Laurel's bush. Freaking laurels grow pretty high, don't they? I didn't realise laurels grow as high as they do, so quick as they do. Don't send it for fur or pheasant. How you ever had it? Oh, we've done that one, haven't we? Don't send it for fur and pheasant. Yeah, don't just. I've seen them come back with dummies and mouth dummies, and then be silly with dummies, and yet absolutely don't damage game at all. Dogs are funny. They're all different, aren't they? And I think a lot of it is down to, I think the dogs that I had in that both had hard mouth. I think that the training they'd had beforehand had created it. If you have got a dog that's running around through the woods with no control, catching birds, and that first bird might spike the dog then that can create hard mouth. I'm not saying the dog was born with hard mouth. I'm saying when the dog came to me for training, it had severe hard mouth, and I just couldn't do nothing with it. I had to be honest with the customer, and the customers decided not to go ahead with the training. Why would you spend £2,000 plus on training a dog as a gun dog knowing it's got hard mouth? It'd be absolutely ridiculous. But I have had on one occasion dog with a mouth, not a good mouth on the dog. He wasn't putting everything in, but I said to the owner, this dog hasn't got a soft mouth, and you've got to take that chance, or you've got to accept the fact that you might have a problem. And the dog, I don't think the dog got any worse, but the dog was not kind to the game. You're not kind with the game, but he wouldn't put everything in. He wouldn't. It's funny because he wouldn't kill a bird that was alive, but he put in a bird that was dead. That doesn't make sense. But you can't rationalize sometimes. One of our members in here, and I'm not going to say who it is, and it's completely up to them if they wanted to say that was me, contacted me, sent me a message about their dog not doing a certain retrieve and yet doing other retrieves. Suddenly started gaining a problem, having a problem. And they sent me the video. I looked at the video and I gave them my opinion. If I had 100% certainty what I was saying to them would cure it or not cure it, I would be honest with them. I'd say, listen, I've got no idea why your dog is doing that. I've never had it myself, never come across it myself. The only reason in my mind it could be, and give the reason what it could be. That doesn't mean I'm 100% right, but they then got to make that decision. They listen to me and take that advice. If I said, oh, I've seen that loads of times, don't worry about it, do this, and that's going to correct it, then they'd be happy, I'd be happy. But you've got to be honest with people. You've got to be honest with people. And it's the same as that video that I've just put up tonight. I don't know if anybody has watched it. I put it up half an hour before I came on here. Is there more hard mouth problems with labs or spaniels? We all know GSP suffer badly. Yeah, no, he didn't say badly, but I put that word badly at the end. Yeah, we know they suffer from it. I don't think it's a major problem, Steve, on a regular basis. No, I think it's quite a remote situation. I think more dogs have got it into them because of poor training than I think it is in the breeding. Yeah, if you're going to do bite sports, you want to get yourself a retriever, don't you? Yeah, a pointer. Sorry, a pointer. They love a good rag, don't they? They do. They love a good rag. It gets the adrenaline going, doesn't it?
Did you read Michael McLaughlin's other one that you read?
Michael, can you actually have that one? I just read that one. Yeah.
Right.
Can you actually have odd mouth on a dummy, but not on game? Neither. Yep, you can. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. We can. So at the end of the day, it's like Jay was talking about building that drive in prey, and not using discipline in the same way as some people use discipline, but allowing the dog to make the choice. Well, hang on, he's grassing himself up now. You didn't have to say anything, Adam. I'm just saying, you didn't have to say anything. He's so honest, isn't he? He's so honest. So, Adam, what? Oh, I don't know. Sorry. Yeah, it'd be interesting for you to put the video up, Adam, in the group for the group to see. Now, Adam's actually said it's him, and I wasn't saying it to try and probe him to say something. His yellow dog has got slightly sticky in certain situations. And I believe sometimes you can put too much pressure on a young dog because it's doing well. And I think Adam Yellow Dog is doing fantastic. But sometimes you've just got to take a back seat and go, I'm going to give the dog a mental rest. Because you can create problems so easy by pushing the dog that little bit more in other areas. And it can be the simplest of things with some dogs that are softer in nature. You can just raise your voice and knock that dog's confidence back. A headstrong dog, they're more forgiving. They're more forgiving. They can handle pressure so much better and don't hold grudges. And it's the same with humans. If you're only ever in one relationship and you only ever have one girlfriend, you go to school, you fall in love with a girl at school, you court her, you then marry her, you don't know what life is like other than that, do you? So you just might think that is life. If you've had 300 girlfriends, 15 wives, you've got far more understanding. You might be a freaking idiot if you had that many. But you've got far more understanding that each one is an individual and each one is different. Same with blokes, isn't it? Same with blokes. They're all different. Some on the surface can act all hard, and a friend did. I mean, what? Sorry, I never had a dog get sticky, but a friend, and it's because they overhandled it and too many stop whistles on the retrieve. Yeah, it's so easy, Leanne, to do, and especially if you go out and use discipline at the wrong time, you can knock the confidence out of the dog, and that's so important for you to realize that some dogs can cope with it and some dogs can't cope with it. The real skill is reading the situation and knowing when to take a step back. And the best advice that I could have given Adam is, I haven't seen what you've done with the dog in the last few weeks, whether you put a little bit too much pressure on it, whether you've told it off, whether the dog has lost its confidence because of that, or whether confusion has come in. And I know that Adam loves his dogs, and I know he loves his training, but sometimes you can push a little bit too far. And I'm pretty sure that if Adam backs off, gives the dog a mental break, doesn't mean don't do nothing with the dog, but change the direction of the training slightly, I'm pretty sure he'll have no problem at all in a few weeks' time. The more you concentrate on that problem, the more it will escalate, the worse it will become if you try and correct it if the dog is not right at this moment in time. You mustn't mess up the mind of the dog. But it's a video that Adam sent in. I didn't feel it was a video, and I get plenty of them. So Adam's not the first. I get plenty of people send me videos in, and they're asking me questions about what do you think about this, Chris? What do you know about that? I only put up a certain amount of videos because if they're good for the group, then fine. Is it good for the group? Adam's video, yeah, in a way it is, because it will show you that Adam's doing so well with the dog, and all of a sudden a simple thing has made the dog sticky. A simple thing has made the dog sticky. So I think it's a good thing to put it up, and I think it's a good thing to talk about. But if we were going to talk about it, I would have talked about it with the person in the private group on Corleone Chat rather than on the World Wide Web. But it was Adam who freaking grassed himself up. He just want freaking get onto a subject that can get my mind off everything, innit? And I appreciate that. I've been thinking about it, and you're right. See, this is the problem. See, being dyslexic, I've been thinking about it, and you're right. Now, right is freaking does my freaking head in, because he's thrown a curveball at me here. Because we could have WRITE as in write it, right? Or we could have RIGHT, where I've had to learn how to spell right,
Well done.
and he throws me in a freaking right curveball. Stop whinging.
So, I think he means whinging. He's even got that wrong.
Winging. Stop winging.
He's doing it purposely now.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. My life is set around dog training. I bet you've all thought lately he's gone freaking mad. He's doing nothing but freaking gardening. Do you know what? I enjoyed the gardening. Don't tell Shirley in the corner, for fuck's sake. Don't tell her. I've enjoyed the gardening because it's something completely new. I've never done it before. Don't get me wrong. I've always done up our houses and made a garden if we could for Sue, but it's always been dog kennels or freaking half measures. And I like the fact of switching off and not being dog orientated all the time. Because my life, really, Sue, for the last 30, 40 years has been
Dogs.
dogs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Training.
Cleaning.
Cleaning, teaching. And it's funny because Billy Steele's Mrs. Catherine Steele from Ledburn. I've been to their property on 2 occasions, I think, 2 occasions, and one to pick up a puppy that was absolutely fantastic, a Ledburn Labrador. Picked him up at 8 weeks old, and Catherine put a picture of her garden up today. And when I went up there, her garden and her house was absolutely immaculate. She looked after the house, she looked after the garden. I don't know if she looks after the dogs for Billy like she used to, but I tell you what, Billy'd been a very successful dog man, and I thought to myself, how freaking hell can you do all that gardening, looking after the house? The garden was unbelievably beautiful. And it's in Scotland. They've got rabbits everywhere up there, and the rabbits wrecked the plants, but it was beautiful garden, and out to the kennels. And then, funny enough, today she put up a picture saying it's not been raining for the first time because Scotland it rains so much. She's done Freeshire, Lead Hills. Anyway, and I remember that garden. I thought, what a fantastic garden. And I don't think Sue came with me.
No,
she didn't come yet. So she would have seen the garden and thought, wow, how can you have a garden like this and have gundogs? Because a lot of you know. Sue's been a widow. No, she hasn't, yeah. And she's been out there freaking with a big whip. She's like a slave driver. She's not been a widow. No, she's been a widow beforehand when it comes to dog training. And then you go, do you want to come with me? Not really. I can get on with cleaning the house. I think she loved it when I went out training, but she liked cleaning. She does see that. Do you like cleaning, don't you?
Yeah, you ran 2 hours. That's an hour. That was it. I was like, bye, I'm off. Get me my friend.
See that? She get a mop out, Mrs. Mop. So like I say, you get into you get the bug, don't you? You get the bug, and before you know it, you're out all the time with the dogs, and then you're answering messages, you're talking to people on the internet, you're on your phone. That's why when we go out for a meal, I tend to leave my phone at home because the phone's just going ping, ping, ping all the time. Questions, answers, and I love it. It's a passion. But sometimes I think you've got to have a mental break. And once I get into something, I tend to put 100% into it. But I've got to stop buying stuff for that freaking garden. So there you go. I've got to stop buying for the garden. I'm seeing the leaves falling off the trees now. I'm thinking, should I get one of them wind blowers just to blow the leaves in the right direction off me freaking conservatory patio, whatever you call it? I don't know what you call it. I'm thinking, you bastards are freaking, and I'm getting nuts and everything landing now. And the weather's changing now. And now they said next 3 days can be really hot. Sue said, "Oh, we can put the top back on." I went, "You can fuck off, Cinderella." Yeah, always cleaning, always cleaning. So I said to Sue, "I'll do you a deal. I'll be the landscape gardener. I'll design it. I'll build it, but I'm not freaking cleaning it, and I'm not weeding it." Oh, I put up a freaking ladder today, cutting freaking edges back.
You get the bug.
Sue, can you just take that? That's Jeanette and say, I'll have to speak to her in a bit. Oh, you speak to her. Just go out there and speak to her. Ask her if she knows. I think I think, Chris, if you suffer the same as me with the obsession in nature, yeah, it is, isn't it? It's but it's nice. It's nice to be able to do the gardening and switch off. It's nice to get your head out there, and it's the first time that I think I've appreciated, because I've never really appreciated gardening, to be honest with you. I've appreciated other people's gardens, but I've never fancied spending hours in a garden. But I miss going out working my own dogs. I miss going out as regular as I used to. But you can't do everything, can you? When you've built the Patreon site and I'm answering questions, I'm making videos, I'm, house husband, I'm sex slave. I got to do all those things as well. It's not easy, is it, with time, is it? I know what you guys are feeling like. I said to Sue, I said to you lot on when was it? Sunday. I said we better go after 2 hours of talking shite. Someone said we talk shite, but we do mention dogs sometimes. And I said we've got to let you go. You all got to go to work. None of you said to me it's bank holiday tomorrow. We don't need to go to work. Guess what I did? A cold beer in your garden at your own bar, perfect. Yeah, and that's what's going to happen now, Steve. When people come here, we'll do some dog training, and then we'll go and sit in the garden and talk about it, and we'll film it in the garden, having a beer at the bar. How about that? Taking it in a new direction. Taking it in a new direction. So that's I don't have a garden. It's taken up with kennels. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I've had to do over the years. I wasn't born into wealth. I had to make my own way in life. And I'm not moaning about it, but I'm just saying that every ounce of space that I've ever had has had to be kennels or a little bit of garden. Yeah, you're booked in any time, Steve. You can come in anytime, mate. Sounds perfect. There you go, Tracy. Training, sitting at a gin and tonic or whatever you want, Trace. Wind down the day. Hey. Capability Upton. That got me worried. I know Capability Brown. Is that the same thing, Graham? It's just that life changes, doesn't it? And age catches up with us, and we start to slow down in different ways, don't we? We have to sort of rethink. We can't run around like a headless chicken. I think my mini stroke sent me a message. It sent me a message. Perhaps I was open all hours and I was just doing too much, and I needed to take a bit of a mental break. I personally, touch wood, think I've made good recovery from that. When you see what can happen to some people when they have a stroke, I just thank God I'm not in a wheelchair. But if I was in a wheelchair, I'd still be fighting, but in a different way. I'll be doing. I was going to say spastic Olympics. You're not allowed to say that, are you? Disabilities. Go help me, someone. Help me. It's only because I'm dyslexic. I could have done the Olympics in a wheelchair, couldn't I? If I'd had a stroke and I couldn't move with one arm, I could have freaking took breakdancing. Anyway, something's happened here. Oh, I don't know what happened then. Anyway, we're 53 minutes in. Shame I lived too far. Leanne, honestly, we wouldn't leave the bar. We wouldn't leave the bar. Of course we would. We'd go training, and then we'd crash out. And we'd crash out. So that's that then, isn't it? 54 minutes. I haven't done too bad, have I? Shall we just call it a day tonight? Shall we just call it a day? And I'll go and talk to my sister, see what she's got to say, whether she knew. I don't know if what she knows. She's just wrong. So Sue's speaking to her out there. And I bet go and face the budding crowd and paraplegics. What paramedics? Well, freaking stop it, you. You're freaking doing me. You can't say physically challenged, can you? Can someone help me? Someone mentioned it earlier. enjoyed the chat again. Sorry to be about you, brother. No problem at all, Michael. I'm sorry that I mentioned it, to be honest with everyone. It was on my mind, and I just had to say something, and I felt better once I said it and moved on. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your support, and we'll catch you all later. Take it easy, be safe, and be lucky. Catch you all later. Good night. Good night.